If you're looking for advice for what to write in your CV and cover letter, we have a special guest with us today. Hilary Channing is with us. She does search in the non-exec and trustee space, so that's chair, NED, trustee kind of roles for housing associations and charities. I'd love to hear, Hilary, your top tips for how to make a success out of your board level applications.
I think this is a really interesting question because so many people have so many different ideas about what's right and wrong. So, this is a great opportunity for me to just have a chat with you today about some of the things that I see in applications and some of the advice that I might offer to people to help them be successful in their future applications. One of the things that I'd like to really talk about is the supporting statement that people provide us with. And I think it's really important that the supporting statement makes a really compelling offer of what you can bring to the role that you're applying for, whether that's a chair role, whether it's a trustee role, a NED role, whichever role it is. It's really important that that offer encapsulates not just your experience and skills, but also the other competencies that you could bring to the role. And I think wrapping all of that around the requirements of the organisation and making sure you've read the candidate brief so that you can relate everything and draw everything across from your current role or from previous NED roles is really, really important. And I think sometimes what I see is I'll see a supporting statement that has been used for a previous application and the name has been changed at the top to reflect the organisation they're applying through. And really, there's very little relevance to the information that's been provided by the client. So my first tip would be to really make sure that your offer sells what you're offering, that you've thought about it, and you've managed to capture everything from the client's perspective. So my next tip is around ChatGPT. Now, we're all using it. Well, I say we're all using it. I think most people I speak to are using it. And I think in terms of how you use it in making applications needs to be thoughtful. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to give a little example here because it might be helpful, is that in a recent NED recruitment that I did, I noticed that 4 supporting statements, they weren't absolutely identical, but there were elements in them that were identical. And I actually got all 4 in front of me at one stage because I thought I was going mad. I thought, I'm sure I've read this somewhere else before. And so, what I would say to people using ChatGPT or other AI that they wish to use for their CV or for their supporting statement is to really personalize it. Use it, of course, if you want to, but make sure that you personalize it. Use your words because it really stands out. There are certain words that stand out every time that we see, and we know immediately that somebody has just put the person specification through ChatGPT and then placed it with their CV and sent it over to us. And sometimes it mentions the organization and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes the organization name is spelled incorrectly. So all of these things need checking, they need careful consideration, and they need thoughtfulness when you're using them. I think a third point is as a consultant working in a sector which is recruiting for boards, particularly, if we offer the opportunity to have a chat with us in the advert or in the candidate brief, take that opportunity up because we will be talking to the client on a regular basis. We'll have lots of insights about the organisation that don't necessarily get into the advert or the pack. So if there's an opportunity, always give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. And we can talk to you about how best to put your application forward, how best to position the supporting statement, just in line with your experience and in line with what we know the client will be looking for in this particular role.
Hilary, you mentioned candidates calling up for a pre-application conversation. Do you have any tips for candidates as to how much time they can expect from you pre and post application? For example, if they're looking for feedback?
I mean, I'm always very happy to support people through the process. That's part of my role, to support people. I think there becomes a fine line between support and then offering ongoing coaching and further support services, which I'm happy to do on a different basis, obviously. If you can imagine, sometimes we get 70 applications for one role, and we may shortlist 6 or 7 people, and then potentially another 40 people would like feedback of why they haven't been shortlisted. And sometimes that's just not possible to do in terms of timing. If you've been through an interview process, then absolutely 100% you will get feedback if you've been unsuccessful. And even if you've been successful as well, we provide feedback on both occasions. So I think it is about, as you say, managing those expectations of what can be provided by somebody like myself and the business that we run. We'll do all we can to help you, but we do have to manage expectations where we get a huge response to a role. When we actually get to the shortlisting stage, we sometimes have in excess of 70 applications, and yours needs to stand out. So make sure that you are writing your supporting statement and providing a CV that is going to stand out. And my main tip around that is make sure it is concise and make sure it is succinct. What we don't want and we don't need is pages and pages of 10 font information over 5 or 6 pages, because we clearly don't have time to read volumes and volumes of information. We need something that is succinct, that stands out from the crowd and puts you to the top of the pile. I would encourage people to curate a NED CV as well and have it as a separate CV, as I say, from their day job or from their previous roles, because a NED CV is very different from your day-to-day CV. I do receive a lot of CVs from people who wish to become NEDs. Perhaps they've got no experience, and that's absolutely fine. We have roles where our clients are very happy to take people with limited experience or no experience. Perhaps they're younger and they've not had the opportunity to get that experience. And I would say, rather than just sending off your current CV, just take time to sit and think about how your skills draw across to the role of a trustee or to the role of a board member, and take some time to place those skills at the front of your CV so that we can see them immediately, and we're not going through lots and lots of jobs that you've had over the years and lots of bullet points. I mean, bullet points are a nightmare. Try and keep everything as succinct as possible, not long lists of bullets of responsibilities, but get right up front the issues that you can draw across from your day job. Tell us about them, give us some examples, and give us a really compelling reason to interview you.
And what are the worst things you can do in your applications?
So recently I've had applications where the client's name has been misspelt. It doesn't look good. You might think it's a small thing, but actually just go through and read through your applications before you send them. Make sure you use the spell check. Again, we all make mistakes. We all spell things wrongly, or we might make typographical errors in our work, but just do all you can to prevent that. A lot of people, again, who I speak to in terms of making their application, they feel that because they've got the experience that we're looking for example, it might be finance, or it might be asset management, or it could be IT skills or EDI, they seem to feel that those are the most important skills to put across. And whilst they are, I would also say that it's really important to talk about the other skills that you have as well, that a board are going to need for effective governance and effective oversight. So some of the behaviours as well are really important. So strategic thinking, communication skills, alignment with values. A lot of the time, those are missing from applications, and we have to make a judgment based on what's put in front of us. So unless we see it, we can't assume it. So I would say have a look at what you're placing in your supporting statement and in your CV, read it back to yourself, and see if it's really painting a picture and telling a story about you. The final thing I would say is, and I think this is based on many conversations that I've had with people over the years about becoming an NED or becoming a trustee. And I think one of the things that I would say is, just because you think you want to be a NED doesn't mean you should be. And I don't mean that rudely or disrespectfully, but a lot of people think that because they've got experience from business, it will transfer over and they will make that transfer easily. It's not an easy job to do. And it's not just transferring those key skills over. There's a lot more involved in that collective responsibility. So ask your friends, ask people who know you, maybe have a chat with them, and then come back and have a chat with me. And then we can take things from there.
Thank you for your time, Hilary.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
for everyone watching. As you know, you've got all the roles that you can view on dynamic boards, lots of NED and some trustee roles there. And we've got a blog that gives you some tips on writing your CV and cover letter, as well as this video and a few more to follow in this series. Good luck with your applications.